I now welcome Mr. John Adams of Adams Economics. Thank you for appearing before the committee today. I remind all witnesses that in giving evidence to the committee they are protected by parliamentary privilege. It is unlawful for anyone to threaten or disadvantage a witness on account of evidence given to a committee, and such action may be treated by the Senate as a contempt. It is also a contempt to give false or misleading evidence to a committee. If a witness objects to answering a question, the witness should state the grounds upon which the objection is taken, and the committee will determine whether it will insist on an answer. If the committee determines to insist on an answer, a witness may request that the answer be given in camera. Such a request may also be made at any other time. Just note the question on notice date again of 3 February 2020. For the Hansard record, could you please state your full name and capacity in which you appear?
John Adams, Principal Economic Analyst, Adams Economics.
Great. Welcome along. Do you wish to make an opening statement, Mr. Adams?
Yes, Senator. I was going to say, before I do, I should note that I have brought a pack of documents, and you've got a pack, and the rest of the pack of the senators are there at that table. So these are consistent with the instructions that the Secretary gave me.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And we will, assuming nobody has any objections, we will accept them. I will ask you to send them through to the Secretariat in electronic version.
Okay.
Obviously that's a decent pile of papers.
Yes.
And we accept you followed instructions, but we would ask you to send them through electronically as well.
No problem, Senator.
Great.
Thank you very much. Okay, so so I'm just going to go to my opening statement. So there are 4 primary reasons why I oppose the government's $10,000 cash payment limit. So number 1, the proposed legislation strikes a fundamental blow to economic freedom in Australia. 2, the proposed legislation will not achieve the government's stated public policy objectives. 3, the Black Economy Task Force and the government have made a series of claims without supporting robust empirical evidence. 4, the proposed legislation is an attempt to entrap Australians into the banking system, which is both anti-competitive and unfair. This entrapment is concerning given the prospect of the Reserve Bank of Australia introducing unconventional monetary policy, in particular negative nominal interest rates. So let me address each of these points in detail. So point 1, economic freedom. The proposed legislation would place significant restrictions on Australians determining their economic affairs and would strike a fundamental blow to the freedom to conduct legal commercial transactions without being tracked by either the government or the banking system. It is for these reasons Germany rejected the introduction of a cash payment limit in 2016 when it was proposed by their government. Moreover, the phenomena of debanking, which was mentioned at the last public hearing, also means that the proposed law may result in the closure of legitimate legal businesses who are denied access to banking services. The other point I'll make is, as we heard from the last witness, the potential regulatory costs that this proposal would impose on corporations and the economy would be significant. And I would argue it would be inconsistent with the government's deregulation agenda. So point 2, failure to achieve public policy objectives. The bill seeks to achieve 2 broad objectives: reducing tax evasion as well as reducing other black economy activity, including money laundering. On the tax evasion question, evidence provided by the Austrian National Bank via a 2017 European Policy Studies report suggests that a cash payment limit did not assist in reducing tax evasion in Austria. Alternatively, evidence from other European countries suggests that a cash payment limit of $10,000 is too high to make a material impact on tax evasion facilitated by cash transactions. On the black economy and money laundering question, evidence from the leading European black economy researcher, Professor Friedrich Schneider from the University of Linz, Austria, is that there is weak empirical evidence that the cash payment limit policies actually reduce the black economy. Moreover, evidence from Austrac to this inquiry is that the proposed law may assist in addressing the money laundering risk involving high-value dealers such as jewellers, art and collectible dealers. However, analysis by the OECD suggests that real estate transactions are the greatest risk of money laundering in Australia, especially funds coming from China. And yet the Parliament has refused to act on recommendations from the OECD to address this risk. Therefore, the proposed law will not address the most significant risks of money laundering in Australia. So point 3, lack of empirical evidence. As highlighted at the 12 December public hearing, the 10,000 threshold by the government was artificially invented by the Black Economy Task Force and was not based on any empirical or statistical analysis. The government has no idea what impact the law would have on compliance with Australia's tax system, and has no idea how much revenue may be generated. And this is a point that was made in the bill's explanatory memorandum. If tax leakage is such a pressing problem for the government, data from the Australian Tax Office suggests that the most obvious source of untapped tax revenue is the 1/3 of large corporations operating in Australia that pay no tax, including foreign multinationals. On the question of money laundering, there is no robust evidence as to how much money laundering, if any, is conducted by so-called high-value dealers, and how the proposed law may reduce or address this risk. Because of what I just said, the evidence suggests that real estate transactions is the greatest source of money laundering risk in Australia. Point 4, unconventional monetary policy. There's an abundance of documentary evidence that the International Monetary Fund and other central bank forums, such as the International Centre for Monetary and Banking Studies, have called for physical cash to be severely restricted or even eliminated in order to facilitate the effective implementation of negative nominal interest rates. These institutions constitute the coordinated global policy effort, which some, including myself, have referred to as the international war on cash. On page 48 of the Black Economy Task Force final report, there's a reference to the writings and commentary of former IMF chief economist Ken Rogoff that moving away from cash could enhance the effectiveness of monetary policy. Ken Rogoff is a leading global advocate of introducing negative nominal interest rates and has argued reducing the availability of cash ahead of the next global recession can enhance negative rates in stimulating economic activity. Hence, by virtue of the Black Economy Task Force final report and the technical papers of the IMF and other central bank forums, there is no doubt, and it is not a conspiracy theory, that the proposed law would push Australians into the banking system ahead of negative nominal interest rates becoming a reality in Australia. So, in conclusion, this committee should adopt the same standard set by former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd about the need for evidence-based policy. The burden that justifies this legislation rests with the government, and in my view, the government has failed this test. Thank you.